Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Notice is hereby given that in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, the laws of 1975, notice of this meeting has been sent to all school offices, officially designated newspapers, clerk, and posted in the Board of Education office 48 hours in advance of this meeting. Roll call, please.
Certainly. Mrs. Asor?
Here.
Mrs. Austin?
Here.
Mrs. Berkowitz?
Here.
Mrs. Pintarelli?
Here.
Mr. Rossini?
I'm here. Okay, is that it? Flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're here to do our board retreat, so let's get to it.
All right, good evening, everybody. As our president just said, this is our board retreat where we want to talk to you about our board goals for next year. The Curriculum and Technology Committee already kind of had a sneak peek at them a couple of months ago. And so hopefully you will kind of see the overall vision of what we're trying to do, where we are now, and how we want to kind of extend some of those goals. This is another one of those times of year where Kim and I love to get together and work on this. It's a time for me too. I meet with all of the departments and all of the administrators, and we talk about what's going well, what do we think we need to do more of. We look back at our current goals for this year, and we also look back to the previous years, and we kind of see, do we need to build off of them? Do we need to completely change course? And it's a lot of really good, rich dialogue that comes out of these conversations. The other thing that I've been doing the last couple of years is I also meet with the entire child study team department and talk to them about how we can infuse some of their ideas and their goals with wellness with the guidance counselors and how that trickles down at the school level and then ultimately getting to our students, which is obviously our overall goal for everything. So you'll see a little bit of that in here. We kind of divide the goals up. So Kim Dowling, our supervisor of curriculum instruction, is here. She's going to talk about really the heavy instructional goals. I'll talk about our wellness goals, and then Kelly, of course, is going to talk about operations and technology. And I hope that you see that they all kind of fit together. This current year, we talked a lot about going from working on single data to looking at multiple forms of data and synthesizing that information, going from single practice of maybe an educator looking at just their ideas or their students, and then this year we took a collaborative approach and we expanded that to having more PLCs where teachers are discussing data across grade levels, or maybe even vertical articulation where they're looking at how do they do from 4th to 5th or 5th to 6th, etc. And so you'll see a little bit of that extension in the goals that we talk about tonight. And then from these goals, just so you guys are aware, just to kind of recap, Kim has the real hard job, right, of then taking those goals, at least the instructional goals, and coming up with a plan on how are we going to get them done, how are we going to support teachers in accomplishing them, and then she works a lot with, of course, all of the teachers, the principals as well, and then our educational experts, and what does that look like in practice? So this is sort of the first step of it. And it really becomes our roadmap for the year. And then as the board knows, I update you guys on how we're doing mid-year and then, again at the end of the year. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Kim. And thank you, Kim, for being here tonight and for working on these with me.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Signore. Okay, so as Mrs. Signore said, this presentation really highlights our strategic focus across 4 areas: teaching and learning, health and wellness, operations, and technology. I'm going to talk a little bit about the teaching and learning goals for next year, and they are built upon the goals that we had for 24-25 with a little bit of tweaks. Our number 1 goal is around math and ELA on cultivating an innovative and inclusive learning environment for all students' diverse needs. And number one here is we're going to continue to collaborate with teachers and have them analyze data across multiple sources. We've been spending a lot of time analyzing data using Linkit. With teachers, we've been using IXL data, formative assessments, observation tools, and next year we're actually going to introduce DIBBLES also up to our teachers in grades K through 3. We're going to be using that as our early literacy screener, and using that data also to inform instructional decisions. We're going to be working with staff individually across grade levels in individual schools, and then across grade levels district-wide, and also a lot of vertical articulation, as Ms. Signori was saying. We're having first grade teachers meeting with kindergarten and second grade teachers and so on, so they can see where the students were and where they need to go. We're also going to be progress monitoring more often than now using different tools. So right now we progress monitor 3 times a year using Linkit. That is going to stay for grades 2 through 8, and our kindergarten, or grades 3 through 8, I'm sorry, and our kindergarten for second grade is going to be using DIBBLES, and second grade will also be using Linkit Math. In addition to using those math formative assessments, the end of chapter assessments, in addition to using IXL and coming up with a plan to take all of this data instead of being overwhelmed with it all, looking at things individually. Let's look at one standard. Let's not get overwhelmed. Let's see which standard we need to focus on that, and move on. And we're going to be using all different data points to identify these standards. At the end of every year, we use NJSLA and Linkit, and that's our starting point, but that's certainly not where we end. That's just where we begin the year, and then we use all these other data tools throughout the year to inform our instructional groupings. Additionally, our coaches or our ed consultants, Shelley Klein and Meredith Alvaro, will be back with us next year to help personalize our goals with our teachers. And this is going to be in a coaching model. So over the past 2 years, we have had a lot of consultant work inside for traditional professional development at our elementary level, whereas this year at the middle school, we started those coaching cycles, and they worked out really well. Next year, we're going to be working on coaching cycles with our elementary teachers in the areas of ELA and mathematics. In math, we will have a little bit of traditional PD as well, because we are going to be implementing new standards. So we are going to be meeting at the end of the units to see what has worked and what we need to change and be reflective in that manner. But we are going to have our consultants in our classrooms more next year, which I'm incredibly excited about, because that means I get to be in the classrooms more than I was this year. We're also going to sustain and enhance our DDI periods, our data-driven instructional periods. We are going to be keeping them as is at the elementary level and at the middle school, with a focus on building our schedules with the hopes that we can have push-in supports at our elementary level with our replacement teachers or our interventionist teachers at least once a week for each content area, which will help with the small groupings. It will help with students who need individual help with being pulled out. And then it'll also offer support not just for our students, but also for our teachers. If you are in replacement for ELA, but you're in your homeroom classroom for DDI, you have a familiar face and somebody who knows your strengths and areas of focus as well. Trying to change the slide with my microphone. That's not going to work. Okay. Our second goal for teaching and learning is adopting and integrating updated curriculum and resources, specifically in the areas of mathematics, word study, and science for next year. Those are the 3 content areas that we're focusing on. And number 1 is certainly on mathematics. So next year, in September, we will be implementing our brand new math curriculum in grades K through 8 to align with this, the state's new standards. It wasn't a huge overhaul like it was, or a complete overhaul like it was with ELA, but the standards have changed in a few different grade levels more than others, specifically with the breakup of data literacy and measurement. And that is one of the areas that we are going to be spending a lot of time next year on strengthening data literacy and on enhancing students' abilities to interpret mathematical terminology and complex terminology in multi-step word problems. We chose those two areas based on data. We looked at our data from last year and the year before from NJSLA. We've looked at data on Linkit and had a lot of conversations with the staff, and this year with students, actually. We talked to students about what has worked for them and what they need more of. And we have come up with those two ideas that we think that we can do better on, and that's what we're going to be focusing on with our consultants for next year. We are also going to be adopting a new word study program in grades 3 through 5 next year. Typically, we use MegaWords and Wordly Wise. But in being reflective and talking to the teachers and looking at our writing samples and our reading levels, we're not seeing the transfer that we hope to see, especially in our students' reading and writing. So we spent this year piloting in vocabulary in a couple of classrooms and looking at other ones just to ensure that this one was the right fit for Rivervale. And we are going to be using it for grades 3 through 5. In vocabulary is going to be the vocabulary approach. And it's very conceptual, visual learning to really help with retention. And HD Word is going to be integrated into grade 3. And that's really for strengthening decoding and encoding and spelling in our 3rd grade classrooms. We're noticing that since we have phonics first in K through 2, our students in grade 3 really don't have a more explicit and structured approach to word study, and they still need to kind of bridge that gap from 2 to 3 and then 3 to 4. So we are going to be using HD Word next year as well in grade 3 only, and then we'll see how that goes if we need it in grade 4 for the following year. And lastly, but certainly not least, our science. This year we implemented year 1 of our new spiraled science curriculum in grade 6. It has gone over fantastic. The teachers have done a wonderful job. We've been meeting regionally with the 6th grade science teachers in Hillsdale, Woodcliff Lake, and Montvale. To reflect on these units as well and build grade 7. And next year we will be implementing the spiraled curriculum in grade 7 and writing for grade 8. And those are really our 3 big areas for student learning standards and success for next year. And now I'm going to pass it over to Mrs. Signore to talk about health and wellness.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Dowling. I just wanted to highlight too, first of all, thank you, but one of the areas I think that Kim has done a really nice job on, especially focusing on this year, if you think back to the October presentation, which is the district assessment report, one of the things that was added into that report was student voice. And we talked a lot about that, and that's something that, Kim's been working on, that we have another whole group of stakeholders, and we need to ask them what's working for them, even at the young elementary age. And they might articulate it different. We have to explain it to them differently, but, we can sit there and we can think best practices and we can do all the research we want, but we need to listen to what the kids what's working for them. And it might be 3 different things that are working for them. And that's the whole point of why we have DDI. And that is what we've been really focusing on for 4 years now, is really authentic differentiation. And that's how you do it. You don't just do it by handing out a worksheet that's a high, medium, and low group. You need their voice in it too. So I just wanted to highlight that for you guys. I know Kim mentioned it quickly, but sometimes we mention things quickly because we live it every day. And I just wanted to bring it to your guys' attention that's a big push that Kim has been working on with our whole team. So thank you. Okay, so health and wellness. Mine is a lot shorter, I think, than Kim's, but certainly not less important. So I was mentioning to you in the beginning of the presentation that one of the things I've done over the last couple of years is really partnered up with the entire CST department, not just the director. Because when they work together at the school level, especially with our guidance counselors, we're helping to intervene before, hopefully, it becomes a CST referral. And so we have seen more and more students, not just in Rivervale, but in general, struggle with mental health and even other things like organizational skills, things like that. And there's all sorts of reasons why that people are predicting. And so my goal is then, how do we help address that? And so one of the things that the CST department started to do was called Unstuck and on Target, which is kind of helps with like executive functioning skills. And we noticed that it was working really well in this CST world. And so last year, they brought that into the school level and started to roll it out for some gen ed kids who would benefit from that as well. And then that really started to take off. So we wanted to expand that goal and really have the CST department pair up with the guidance department so that the guidance counselors at each school can kind of run with that and make some bigger groups and work more with our gen ed population. We found that that's something that's important for all kids, and so that's going to be a big area of ours next year, especially at the elementary level before they get up to middle school. That 4th and 5th grade group, especially when they get to middle school and then they have the transition of all these different teachers and all different homework assignments, and how do you keep all of that organized. The other thing we want to do specifically at the middle school is we started to implement vision boards at the middle school. And again, this started off in the CST world where they were working with some students to help set goals. As some of them are instructional goals, some of them are also social and emotional goals that they have for themselves. And then they set these goals and these vision boards, and then they meet with the CST team as the year goes on. And that has been working so well that we had some gen ed kids find out about it and sort of come to us and say they wanted to be part of this. And so we started to do a little bit of that, and then it really took off. So we're going to refine, though, the approach a little bit different for next year and have a more structured approach where they're going to meet in the beginning of the year and kind of set their intentions, work towards their goals, and then kind of be paired up with a teacher or a CST member, almost as like a mentor, and helping them kind of get through some of their big goals that they have for the year. And then, of course, we're always enhancing our SEL supports. You guys all know we've been doing Ruler for many years, and we felt we need something to kind of enhance it. So the guidance department actually put a grant in from our RVEF, and they are going to be bringing in some other resources that will support that program and maybe freshen it up a little bit. So that's something that we're looking forward to and seeing how that goes for this year coming up. And we're constantly working with West Bergen Mental Health. I have to say it's a really great resource. We're really fortunate that we're a district that has that. And we're always actually our clinical therapist who is with us full time through West Bergen Mental Health, I meet with him as well. So when we're setting goals for social emotional learning, he's got a voice at the table because he's the one working with some of our most, I don't want to, some of our population that's the trickiest and who really needs the most support. So it's really important to get his voice and see what he's hearing, so that when we set these goals, it's going to reach everyone, not just kids who are quote unquote classified, but kids that are gen ed that also need this work. So that's our health and wellness. And then I will pass it over to Kelly, who will talk about operations and technology.
Ms. Dowling, will you be able to turn that for me when I get there? Thank you. If I can just stay here. Okay, so thank you. And operations, as you're all aware, we are winding down our referendum construction project. This building will be done this summer, and Holdrum's main entrance will be done this summer, and then we will be done. So that's a big goal. As also a reminder, the administrators, that's really the principals, there's 4 members in that union, their contract is expiring at the end of 2006, so negotiations will begin in 2006 after the new year. Obviously, we want to continue to maintain a safe and healthy environment, and my favorite is providing a budget to you, a draft budget, right after the new year. That's your Happy New Year and your holiday gift from me to you. So in a few months, we'll be starting the budget process. We do kick that off in October. And then, again, we continue to always investigate sharing services with other districts. We work very well with the Township of Rivervale, and we also have a shared maintenance agreement, and we buy gas through the Old Tappan Borough. So we're always looking for ways to save money. And this was put on the back burner in terms of where the finance and the HR software system is running on 2 different platforms right now. We have not fully converted over. We've had to deal with some other issues, so we'll get back to that, and then we'll have everybody on the same platform and trained. And that's what we have for operations. And now moving right into technology. Once again, with the refresh of the one-to-one initiative, the technology department will be deploying 2 grade levels of new student devices. Grade 6 and grades 2 will receive new devices for the start of the year. That is onboarding, labeling, and preparing 250 new devices, along with all the technology needs that are going to be in this building. They're going to adopt a new website and messaging platform that enhances communication, district branding, and strengthens the connection between the schools, students, and families. So right now, the website, if you've been on, is a little outdated. So that was one of the initiatives that Ms. Signori had, and as part of communications, and this is going to tackle all of that. It's also going to help reduce some of the administrative workload by centralizing communication efforts. So that's another heavy lift for the summer. The larger project is upgrading existing virtual server infrastructure to the latest hardware and software. This was done about 7 or 8 years ago, and we have virtual servers in our district. So this is, it's time, it's at the end of its useful life, and if that's not working, then the entire district is down. So that's, again, another major lift. And then continuing to improve district security and cybersecurity practices. As we all know, you can't turn on any type of device without seeing something about cyber challenges. So increasing the use of the 2FA and the MFA across all systems. We have it in a couple, but I know that we're working on getting it on all. Continuing cyber training and improving data backups, and continuing to add security cameras as needed. Does anybody have any questions on either?
Is there going to be an app made for the district?
There is an app that is part of this, and we are exploring it and hope to have that. That's one of our goals. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's okay, yes, that's all right.
Anyone else?
What does it mean when you say enhance performance of all virtual
Could
servers?
you use your,
What does it mean to enhance performance of all virtual servers? What do you have to do exactly? To get new contracts? all sorts of-
there's new hardware that's involved, and there's also new software.
That involves contracts with outside vendors and all sorts of things, or we're just buying stuff?
We've been engaged with a third-party provider to help, that's in that area of expertise, to help Mr. O'Gara get everything where it needs to be. So that is a major, major initiative for him this summer.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Kelly, and also Kim, for your work on this as well. Appreciate it. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
So are we going to roll straight into a board meeting? I get that, but, and we've given notice that we're going to go from 5:30 straight with our board meeting? Okay. So the retreat is over. Old business, anybody? New business? Okay, we'll adjourn. Motion to adjourn the board retreat at approximate, let's see. Is there a motion? Patrice?
I'll
make the
motion.
Cheryl?
I'll second.
Okay, Jamie second. So, May 27th, board retreat is adjourned at approximately 6 PM. Anybody against? No, okay.
5 minutes so we can
Okay, all right, we'll take a 5-minute break.